Hey, this is Shane with the Social Freedom Tribe. I wanted to share this process that I made about how to enjoy life or how to find things that you enjoy or that I enjoy. And it's something I created that just is based off of Creativity by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. It's my favorite author. He also wrote the book Flow, which if you've watched my other videos, it makes sense that that would be my favorite book ever since I'm constantly talking about flow. Now, this is a process that I've created based off of a creative process that he talks about. And it's basically using these different ways of divergence and then also originality. And so if I go into the process, basically this process is just for figuring out how do we, what are the things that we enjoy and how do we enjoy them? How do we enjoy our work? How do we enjoy our hobbies? What do we enjoy about our hobbies? And how could we come up with ideas in our work, in our hobbies, in our dating life, or something like that, that we can just find more flow, might find more enjoyment, and just get more out of life. So the way we do that, or the way I start this process, is basically through starting with divergence. And divergence meaning come up with as many ideas as possible. So let's take work for example. You can really use this anywhere. You can use this with date ideas. I've done that, and you could do that with work, or you could do that with hobbies or something like that. But let's say if you're using it for work, you want to find ideas that you can implement in work that would allow you to find more enjoyment. So you can start by just giving out as many ideas as possible, like writing as many ideas as possible. And when you're doing this, you also want you want as many ideas as possible, but you want the ideas to be as different as possible as well. So let's say that you have like, oh, I could research this, oh, I could research this, I could research this. After about 3 times where you said I could research, maybe come up with something like else, like I could create, or I could implement, or I could problem solve this thing. So just kind of like notice, like if you're doing date ideas, then if you have 5 restaurant ideas for dates, maybe come up with a movie date or a hiking date or something like that. So try to have all the ideas as different as possible, while also just coming up with as many ideas as possible. And you also want to get out of this judgmentalness of it. So you don't want to judge the ideas before you write them. You want to write them even no matter how bad the ideas are. And if you just only have bad ideas at first, you're like, I don't want to write that, because you're kind of embarrassed to write those ideas on paper. Just write it anyway. Trust me, your brain will start catching on. And if you start listening to the judgmental part that's stopping you from writing, you'll pretty much just not write anything and you won't come up with any ideas. But if you kind of shut off the judgmentalness by just writing as many ideas as possible, no matter how bad they are, then you'll catch a flow and then you'll just start coming up with a bunch of them. And try to make the ideas as different as possible also. And when you come to a satisfying stop where you just kind of feel satisfied with what you wrote, then that's when you can start going into the judgmental phase. And this judgmental phase that I use is a scale from 1 to 5. 1 being I definitely don't want to do this idea, and 5 being I definitely do want to do this idea. And start just writing, just through feeling, a 1 through 5 around it. And do this based on like how much you would enjoy it, how much you feel like it's not that scary, or whatever the elements that you feel like make this a 5 or make it a 4 or make it a 3. And just start going by your own feeling. And then and it's important to go by your own feeling of like how much, just go by feeling with how much it feels like a 5 and how much it feels like something you really want to do. And this is important because the next phase is taking all those 5s and taking all those 4s. Well, first taking all the 5s and asking the question, how did these connect? Like what's similar about these, or what's the theme around these things? How do these things connect with each other? And then if you just start free writing about how they connect with each other, you might find some things. And they might be just very, it might have been something common sense to you, but it's a way of finding something that's just basically you. Like maybe somebody, when they are writing ideas for something, they're like, I can problem solve a new thing, this new thing. I can research this new thing. I can create this new thing. And it doesn't really seem like there's any really commonality behind it. But then when they start writing about the similarities, even if they go to like just the obvious parts of, I said new in each one of these, that could actually spark this thing of like, oh, what I'm really looking for is novelty, some newness to my life. And some people, I know that some people are just like after new foods and after new things. I think you know who you are if you're watching this. And some people just kind of like the same stuff, but they're looking for something different within doing the same stuff. Or just might be some people like doing the same stuff. I'm pretty much somebody who kind of keeps doing the same things because I find flow in them and I find enjoyment. But there's just different things about each people, about each person, and if we find the commonalities between these fives, it might just shed some like some insight on maybe things that are just more obvious, but aren't said and aren't specifically shown to you. And so if you keep writing about just what connects these fives, then you can go on to when you feel satisfied with that, you come up with a lot of different understandings and insights from that. You can move on to grouping up the fours and say what connects the fours, and just say what makes these fours and not fives. And from writing that, you can understand basically more insights. I just, for now, I just stuck with the fives and the fours. I didn't actually move on to like what makes a three and blah blah, because actually when I just did what the connection between the fives were, and I did the fours and why the fours aren't fives, I found so much insight that the next step, so we went into some divergence and very different ideas, and then kind of like convergence and judgmentalness, like judging how we rank these ideas, and then convergence of like how do these things connect. And then the next and last step is originality. Now, when in the book Creativity by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, how he defines originality is, I love this description. It's basically something that nobody else really comes up with. So it's if with these ink splotches, he talks about with these ink splotches, basically everybody might say it's a butterfly or something like that. There's different answers, but they're all kind of like around the same kind of area. They're all kind of like the same answers. And then there's these creative people that are coming up with just really different ideas that nobody else is coming up with. But at the same time, they're not bizarre ideas. So nobody's taking a butterfly picture and saying it looks like a moon, and it doesn't look like a moon at all. And it's kind of like, how do you see a moon in this? That's not really an original idea. Original idea is basically when the listener hears it, they go, oh, that's so obvious. Why didn't anybody else come up with it? So it's so obvious. Why didn't anybody else come up with it? It's kind of like that's an original idea that is basically the next step. So the next step is like basically taking your insights from what makes a five, what makes a 4. How do these things connect? How do the fives connect? How do the fours connect? You take those insights and you start just writing new ideas from that. Like, what are other ways of getting those same things? Like, maybe for the person that wants novelty, and everybody will come up with different answers. I pretty much guarantee a lot of people are going to everybody's going to come up with different answers for what they would enjoy within a workplace or within dates ideas or something like that. But let's say for the person that maybe their answer is novelty, once they know that it's novelty that they're looking for, they can just start writing these ideas with that in mind, and they can start just coming up with really original ideas that go towards that intention, and it'll just really start, there'll be really original ideas that are kind of just like obvious and like, whoa, why didn't I think of that before? It was so obvious. And so I love this phase, and I just wanted to share it. And this can be applied with your workplace, it can be applied with date ideas, with just your hobbies, social life, your sports. Maybe you're playing basketball and you kind of just want to like practice something in basketball. Like, what do you enjoy about basketball, and you kind of like get into different things about like maybe different things that you want to practice. Maybe you have a creative project and you just want to bring something new to the creative project. You're like, what do I want to bring to this? Like, what do I want to do? Maybe you're an entrepreneur and you want to, there's like all this work you kind of have to do, but you're like, man, which would be the most enjoyable? Like, what would I be the most excited about bringing in my entrepreneurial project? And I think this process would just be really helpful. So let me know what you think, and comment. And if you like this video, I'm going to keep coming out with more. I'm going to keep trying to find these creative processes and different things of like, how could we enjoy our lives more? How could we find our passions? How could we bring our gifts out into the world? Because we all have some incredible gifts and you're all amazing. Press the subscribe button if you like this stuff, and love you guys. Have fun. Peace.